Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to look at two problems, both from the currency exchange rates part of the curriculum. If you haven't already done so, I would urge you to review the mind map video, which I put up recently. And once you've solved these problems, I would go back and make sure that the concepts are crystal clear for you. With that, let's get started. Here, we're given a historical exchange rate from 2 years ago. Remember, it's always domestic over foreign. So in this case, the domestic currency would be US dollar and foreign would be the euro. In order to solve this problem, we're going to have to do two things. One, compute the real exchange rate. And two, we're going to have to interpret that exchange rate in terms of what it means for consumers in the US and consumers in the Eurozone. So right away, we apply the formula real equals nominal times inflation in foreign divided by inflation in domestic. The nominal rate currently is 1.57. Inflation in the Eurozone has risen 4%. And inflation in the US has risen 9%. We get the current real exchange rate as 1.498 US dollars per euro. Now, how does this compare to the old real exchange rate? Remember that in the base period 2 years ago, the real exchange rate equals the nominal exchange rate at that time, which was 1.48. So real has gone up. Nominal has obviously gone up. And what this means is that the US dollar has depreciated. So option A is immediately incorrect. The second option is partially correct. It states that the nominal exchange rate has risen, which is true, but it's incorrect when it states that this makes US goods more expensive. That would make C the correct answer, but let's check to make sure all its parts are in order. Real and nominal have risen, true, and because the US dollar has depreciated, it has made Eurozone goods more expensive to US consumers. So C is in fact the correct answer. This kind of question, which involves multiple learning outcomes, is quite common on the exam. So for instance, in this case, we're required to be able to calculate the real exchange rate, but that is not sufficient to get the right answer. We in fact have to be able to interpret what a depreciated currency entails for both domestic and foreign consumers. Let's look at another problem. This is a relatively straightforward application of a formula with a little bit of a twist. We know from the interest rate parity relationship that forward over spot equals 1 plus the domestic risk-free rate divided by 1 plus the foreign risk-free rate. So in this instance, domestic is the Japanese yen and foreign is the British pound. So we plug in these numbers and forward equals spot, which is 155, multiplied by 1 plus domestic risk-free rate of 0.5%. But remember, it's over a 180-day period, which means we have to divide the given rate by 2. This uses the 3360 convention. And if we get a 90-day rate, for instance, we would have divided this by 4. Similarly, the British rate is 3% divided by 2 because it's also a 180-day rate. So plugging this in, we get 153.09 yen per pound as our final answer. And of course, the options are in pounds per yen, so we just invert that. And we get our final answer, which corresponds to option B. Currencies tend to be a favorite of exam writers, so I would review the mind map material and do as many problems as you can to make sure the concepts are very clear. Good luck as always. I'll be back soon with more videos.